Welcome to Did You Know? Podcast, your host, Richard Utley, dedicated to the African American viewers. The program is aimed to celebrate African American culture and deal with the real and relevant topics that impact the everyday lives of the African American community through frank and insightful dialogue with local and national influencers. Every day, there is another horrible, discouraging news story, directly or indirectly, impacting African Americans. But we need to look at the shining stars in the galaxy of Black America. It is time to tell our story.
Good day, and welcome to another Did You Know? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have an interesting program here today. I got a nice young entrepreneur on. I'm going to have him come on and tell you his story, his vision, his dreams, and what he had to go through to get to where he is, and the things he's doing to take it a little step further. Well, before this, I'm going to have my song played, Mary Don't You Weep. Now, why do I play that song? I play that song in order for you can put it in perspective. And when I say that, this is why.
Yeah. I'm singing Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you tell Martha. Oh, Martha, don't you moan. Ooh, Mary, don't you tell Martha, don't you moan. Martha, don't you moan.
Okay, why do I play Mary Don't You Weep? The reason I'm playing Mary Don't You Weep, because we don't need to weep. It is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put this in perspective. We think we're going through some hard times. But guess what? There's some people before us went through a lot more. And my attitude is, and your attitude should be this. If they got through it, we can get through it. Yeah, I know it looks a little bleak out there, but this thing, there's a sunshine ahead of us. There is a sunshine out there. So we have to look positive. But my attitude has always been, we got to look out for ourselves. We got to develop certain kinds of things. And what I mean by developing certain kinds of things, we have to sit back now and say, okay, we got to work on a battle plan for economic development. We got to work on a plan for entrepreneurship. We got to work on a plan how we're going to educate young people and how we're going to prepare them so that they can be ready for the next level. And at the same time, how we're going to combat drugs and all those negative things that's in our community. Because we have so many positive things in our community, and I get tired of hearing people thinking that, you know, either we're a drug-infested community or we don't like the police to come and protect us, which is crazy. And that's why I have this program, so that we can tell our own story, tell it the way that we think things should be. Yeah, you know, I had to laugh that as time is progressing that we got to prepare. And what I mean by that is, for example, you hear all this conversation about midterm elections. Well, it's coming up next year, and guess what? We better be prepared for it. Because if we don't, shame on us. If you don't like what's going on now, then you need to change it. I need to change it, and we need to change it together. And my attitude is, the next midterm election, that we need to look at everyone. And those that are for us, and those who are very supportive of us, then we should support them. We should support them by vote, and we should maybe support them by campaign contributions or going out, working on their campaigns or whatever, if we believe in them. And those who don't look out for us, then we should reward them too by punishing them and putting them out. I think that's part of the problem. They take us for granted. And we got to stop letting people take us for granted. If you're not going to look out for our welfare, then why should we support you? That is my attitude at this point in time. You see what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. So my attitude is, and your attitude be, there's a new sheriff in town, and the new sheriff is you. So I want you guys to start analyzing, start seeing what's going on. Go to school board meetings, go to city council meetings, go to things that in the community to find out what's going on. You should find out what's going on because it's your neighborhood, it's your life, and you have a responsibility to do that. It's amazing to me. We walk around and they say, somebody's getting ready to put a $2 million ballroom, but yet you're cutting certain kinds of services. Where's the priority at? You know what a priority is? The priority is they may be putting the $2 million at the White House in a ballroom, but if you voted and you got involved, they would hesitate. They would hesitate. People reward those who take care of themselves. You hear all these millionaires giving all this money to all of these candidates, and who do they support? The millionaires. Whose agenda do they deal with? Theirs. Why? Because they figure we don't care or we don't think it's important. And I think now we have to start to feel that things are important. You see it. You see labor chief got fired because somebody didn't like the numbers. I always told numbers don't lie. Well, we'll see. My attitude about the criminal justice system has always been, I've always thought it was flawed, and I still believe that. So we see justice and we see equal justice. Now, think about it. And my attitude about that is that don't put ourselves in a situation that we have to go in front of the judicial system. If you get pulled over, you know how you gotta act. You don't have a choice. I ain't saying it's right, but just follow the rules. Later on, complain. Later on, do the right things in terms of filing the necessary paperwork. But don't allow somebody to put you in a situation to do something to you, and then it becomes what you did and not what they did. The other thing is, as I said before, we got to look at economic development. It's very important. We got to look at entrepreneurship. You're talking about housing, low-income housing. Where's it at? Where you going to live? If you live in Section 8 and they change the rules and tell you after 2 years you have to get out, where you going to go? How you going to prepare yourself? You can't wait. You got to prepare yourself now. So I'm saying to all of you, let's start to prepare ourselves for the things that we need to do. If it's education, we need to talk about trades. We need to talk about people learning to be plumbers and electricians and things of that nature so that they can make a decent living. And a lot of them can make a living. Everybody can't be basketball players and everybody can't be football players. But they need to be exposed to it. So we need to start figuring those things out from the very beginning. A lot of times we jump into things in the middle and we have no foundation. That's why I've always felt that history was very important. If you don't know your history, you don't know where you came from. And that's why I always bring up the importance of history, because I think we need to know things. And so today, I'm going to give you an assignment. I'm going to flip the script. I want you to look at your community that you live in and see who were the role models. See who the people did things in your community that tried to make your community a better place to live. Let's not talk about the Martin Luther Kings. Let's not talk about the Malcolms. But let's talk about the pillars in your own community. And I bet you'll find out a lot of those pillars in that community, they're related to you. Nobody never told you that. Nobody never told you that your grandfather, your uncle, your cousin, or your mom, or your great-grandma played a very significant role in your community. So I'm going to say, let's start painting from the very beginning. So let's look at our community to see who the pillars were. Let's see who the people tried to make life better for you. Because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if it wasn't been for other people, we technical, so we're going to skip I usually bring a feature on today, but I'll leave you with 3 words though. I want you to go and do your research on redlining. Find out about redlining. That's when and the GI Bill. I want you to go do your research, and when people turn around and tell you you should pull yourself up by the bootstrap, ask them what bootstraps are they talking about, and you will find out if you do your history that it wasn't always a fair playing field. And that's why I get upset with this DEI stuff. They want to take it away and act like it was unfair. We had a fair advantage. We never had a fair advantage. We started from the bottom, and we're going to have to continue to claw our way back up. So with that, what am I going to do today? I got a young entrepreneur on here today, and he's going to tell you who he is. He's going to tell you his story, and then maybe he's going to get into his journey.
Good afternoon. My name is Marc Domingos. I own a moving company. The name of the moving company is Movers For Me. Website, movers4.me. Phone number is 717-500-MOVE. Own a company here in Harrisburg. We like to, our company mainly does residential, commercial, and we do moves for the state of Pennsylvania. I'm here on this podcast here to just share some information about the business and what we do within the community.
What made you decide that you even wanted to be a business person?
I've always took an interest in business. It kind of was a hobby for me to read Black Enterprise, Business Insider. I watched Fox Business, Bloomberg. I just always liked it, and I found an opportunity with a friend years ago. There were a couple people that I've met in life. It just always seemed exciting. But why moving specifically? It's because back in the recession in 2007, I just came from college, and there was limited to no opportunities, but a lot of people really wanted to work. There's one thing that we found that was recession-proof, and also you can mobilize quickly. What I mean by that is, 3 or 4 of us can get together, start doing labor, and make money today. It doesn't require extensive training. It just takes people that are motivated and honest to get out there. So it just started as a hobby. It turned into something that we were moonlighting. It evolved. I had a previous partner before, and I started my own enterprise, I'd say 2016, 2017. We split ways, and I just really focused on moving. That's when Movers For Me was born. I'd say towards 2018, 19, it became something that I had to take on full time. And just last year, we just started doing contracting with the Commonwealth. So we made some progress within the business. But, being here in Harrisburg, I enjoy being in my hometown, and also enjoy offering opportunities for people. I've been able to help a lot of friends of the family, a lot of friends of friends and their families. So we've been able to help by providing a source of income, as well as providing a service. In Central Pennsylvania, I think we're approaching 4,000 customers that we've had, and it's a privilege to have the opportunity to do business. We have customers of all walks, from Nepalese to people from Bangladesh, India, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whoever. So we're really a service provider. Moving is regarded as a public utility in Pennsylvania. So our service is something like PP&L. When you call, we got to show up. You can't move on your own. You need us. And the goal in the long term is for this to be a known name within town, amongst people. you're thinking about moving, yes, there's other options. This is the local option. This is the hometown option. This is the hookup. This is the deal. We do expect everyone to pay their bills in full, but it is we do want to offer a value service, and we want it to be local. Our area has been nice for years. I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see a lot of out-of-town interest, a lot of big box businesses coming in, and it's going to be important that we maintain our originality of being in Harrisburg. A lot of people who come from out of town, they like the restaurants, they like a lot of unique businesses and offerings. So with that, I think our business and services should reflect, and especially in the Black community, there needs to be a larger presence of business to reflect people that work in these industries. If you look at a lot of other moving companies that are white owned, a lot of them have Black employees, but you don't see a lot that are Black owned. So ownership and entrepreneurship is very important, and that's why I kind of got into it. And hopefully this grows. I mean, the idea is that we take this to other similarly situated city centers. We've targeted Raleigh. Jacksonville is pretty good, being at the top of Florida. You got some other places in the Midwest. So right now we're just looking at how we can perfect the process, have the right people involved, and after that point, begin to look at scaling.
The fact that you own your own business, and I'd like you to tell the audience that it's rough, it's tough, and you're looking for employees, but we need to start developing people to understand and join the workforce. And what I mean by that is that, and it bothers me all the time, we gotta start developing accountability in terms of certain things. If you're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, you be there at 8 o'clock. You can't call in sick, or you can't get, I've been through it and I've experienced it. We hire somebody, they work 3 days, and then they want to call off 2 days. Or they say they want to come in at 10 o'clock, not understanding that we got to start holding people accountable. And I think, and I'm looking right at the schools and coaches, teachers, we don't have a choice but to put our foot down and say enough is enough. Because even though you own your own business, if you say you're supposed to be somewhere at 8 o'clock and you're dependent on somebody to show up to help, even though you're the owner, then that means that you got to pick up the slack. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's it doesn't reflect well on everyone, right? I'll consult with a client. I'll do an in-house home estimate. Sales is you, right? When you meet someone, you're selling a product. 9 times out of 10, they're into you. You decided. They could have picked any moving. They could have picked any product. Something about you made them say yes. Give you the money. That part's already established, right? Then I build my team. I send my team. I tell them, hey, be there by 9 o'clock. That's what I'm telling the customer. Right at that point, when they don't show up at 9, they can look at me and say, oh, well, this is not what he said. Or they can look at them and say, well, these guys are late. Well, now I'm running a bad operation. They look dumb. We all look dumb. That doesn't translate to money-making activity. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like we talked earlier about small business, a lot of people behave differently when it's a small business. They don't behave this way if it was UPS or Reese's plan, right? At 8 o'clock, you got to be here and be punched in. They're going to be there, or they're going to get fired. But with you, I had to stop at the Sheetz in the gas station. It's this excuse, and you're supposed to always understand. But it takes those disciplines, and those are the things that will screen you out as far as making money. I've lost opportunities because I've trusted employees to be somewhere, right? And it gets to a point, and I just told someone the other day, I set the work up for you to do. If I was setting up for me to do, I'd be there on time. It would be done. If I'm setting up work for 10 people, you have to be there, right? So it's extremely difficult. It can be, right? It just depends on who you have and what the timing is. It can be difficult, but I was taught to be somewhere on time. That means being there 30 minutes early, and I've seen it at jobs. I've seen people that show up an hour early. They sit there, they eat their lunch, they read the paper, they use the bathroom, they just sit there and get ready to start on time. They're ready in case something's going on, they're there. And I've seen people come in, like Saved by the Bell, rush to the last second. They got to be there at 4, 3:59, 59 seconds. They're rushing in the door. But the second that there's traffic, the second there's an accident, the second they don't feel good, that's when you're late and you get those infractions and you end up getting removed. But just simple things like that are important, and that needs to be established. Being prepared to work, it needs to be established. There's no point in working a job just to spin your wheels and get by. You want 2 paychecks, 2 pay stubs. That's enough. That's all the bank needs to see if you need to get a used car. That's all that, 3 pay stubs, that can get you into an apartment if your credit's decent. We need to start looking at getting people ready to work. What that means is having reliable transportation, having a cell phone. Today you need a cell phone, right? You got to communicate. People send text messages. There's all types of applications that you need to be logged into. You need transportation. It could be a car, it could be a bike, it could be a bus pass, it could be Uber, it could be, but you need to be able to get to work on time. Without those things, you're not useful to anybody, and it makes everyone look bad. And that's the problem, I think, with women-owned business, minority-owned business, is you become a target to poor employees at the end of the day, because you're small. You don't have the big systems to mitigate the things like time clocks, cameras, surveillance. You look at these big factories. I mean, UPS, they're fine with you firing you, no problem. I mean, they don't even have the same start time every day, just to make sure if you were here yesterday, you'll be here tomorrow. You called off, you have to get in touch with somebody, and you don't know what time they're starting. They can start at 4 a.m., they can start at 2 a.m. tomorrow. You had to be there to know what was going on. They let go of you, it's fine, because they got 10 more people coming in. So that turnover and those employee things could really affect a small business, affect any business. So we always try to find just the right people that can commit and understand that it's important. Also, in the line of work that we do, people are moving. What that means is they have settlement, leases up. This is things that can't wait till later. You got to put your personal situation aside and understand this is the work that you're doing. Imagine it's the middle of a heat wave. You're using some medical device. The power goes out. PP&L says the guy's going to be there from 8 to 10. He calls you and says whatever he has going on in his personal life, he might be there by 4. You have medical equipment hooked up. The same thing applies to moving, right? People have things, pertinent things that you don't need to know why. You just need to know being on time is important, and that's what can get the money. So having access to, we've done work with the Harrisburg Housing Authority. We've done work for different situations. Being on time is important. And yeah, people are cool, they understand, but it's noted. What is also noted is when we say we're going to be there at 9, we're there at 7:30 outside getting set up, in uniform, locked and loaded, ready to go. That's what people want to see. That's what people talk about in a positive way. So I've had a lot of success with that, and we've had, I'd be lying to say that we didn't have problems. We've had some issues. But being prepared to join the workforce is something that I've seen, especially from people from Harrisburg in the city. I've seen that, and that's got to get tightened up. And like you said, it's the same principles you learn in football practice or basketball practice or in any of these things. But being on time, being punctual, being accountable, those 3 things are everything. And I think they're universal life skills. But we have to get that started early, and that we have to hold people to that, because we're not going to get anywhere without it. It doesn't translate. If you're late, some people, you're done. At the point where you're late, it's already bad. It's already bad. So.
And I agree with you, and I think that's why from now on we're going to have to start holding people accountable, because we haven't always done that. We've allowed them to make excuses. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a choice anymore. It's on us now. We got to look out for ourselves. So like he said, we got to look at being on time. So stop making excuses for somebody not being on time. I stopped at a place yesterday, and they were saying that they were going to take these kids on a field trip, and 10 of them missed it. And I said, why? Well, they missed the bus because we said we were going to leave at 8 o'clock, and we had to be there at a certain time, and when people came at 8:15, they were upset. Why would you expect them to wait for you? They told you 8 o'clock, you probably should have been there 10 to 8. you know, these are the kinds of things that I think now that we're going to have to hold people responsible for. Something that you said a few minutes ago. Credit's very important. So you just can't just go and not do anything and then feel that somebody's going to loan you some money to buy a car. And you notice he said used car. You know? A used car. You want to start to prepare yourself. If you need to go somewhere and you got to take the bus, then you need to study the bus route. We always find excuses, and I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, we can't do that anymore. We got to step up at the plate. It's on us now. That's why I think it's very important that, you know, we have people like him on, so everybody can't be a football player, everybody can't be a basketball or whatever. We need some people to be entrepreneurs. We need some people to be own construction companies, and we need to be able to hire people that can be carpenters. We need people to be plumbers. We need people to be electricians. And guess what? They make a lot of money. Everybody's not going to go to college, and everybody don't want to go to college. And the way things are going on, we got to prepare for tomorrow. So they talk all this AI stuff and say, well, if they do this, they won't need this, they won't need that. But guess what? In order for AI to work or all these buildings to be built, somebody's got to do them. So why shouldn't it be us? And we got to hone in our skills. So that's why it's important for you to look at people that are doing positive things. There are a lot of people in the community that are doing a lot of positive things, but they get no credit for it. Just think about that person that gets up every day and they go to work. They go to work every day. Rain, snow, sleet, whatever, and they come home because they want to provide. And so I get it all the time when people apply for all kinds of jobs, they come in there not prepared. You gotta be prepared. You see what's going on with this DNA, they keep trying to say, well, we're not into affirmative action, we're not into inclusion, we're not into that. That's what they're saying. Well, guess what? Since they changed the script, we got to change the script. So now we got to be prepared. So now you got to do your own research. So now you got to do your own studying. So now you got to be prepared. I've always believed we had to be prepared anyway, but I think now it's much more important than it's been before. Because I'm tired of hearing about, are we qualified, are we not qualified, and did he get a fair advantage or did she get a fair advantage? And that bothers me sometimes because I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I know for a fact, some of you who have questioned it, believe me, I know a lot of folks that's a lot smarter than you are. And guess what? They didn't need no breaks. And that's why I think it's important for us to do history. I want you to know why there's redlining. I want you to know that. I want you to know why GI Bill and you think that everybody could went and got GI Bill and bought a house. Buy a house where? Where you gonna buy it? If it's redline, you can't buy in that neighborhood. These are things that you need to know, but you take that history and you use it to drive you to reach back and pull somebody up, and they pull you back up, whatever. Now, the other thing that you said, and you were talking about it, what are some of the things you think that we should be aware of in terms of not only being but an entrepreneur, but you as a person?
I think we have to be aware of what's going on in our locale. What that means is, people worry about the elections that include the president and the big stuff, but a lot of it's about who's your local people, who's your state rep, who's taking these, even school board. So in the last few years, people are really taking a closer look at that, and that's what really matters, right? A lot of younger guys that I tell, the three most important people they live in the city of Harrisburg, they need to be concerned with is the mayor, chief of police, fire chief, the coroner. Okay, something happens, someone's dead, that guy is an elected official who's going to come and show up and say, this is what happened, this is what I think happened. You have a relative who passes away in a jail cell, this elected person is going to show up and say, oh, He just died. He was 20, natural causes. That's the story. That's the narrative that gets told. Okay? The fire chief. Your house burns down. Someone was using a curling iron next door. They have some interest in it, or maybe they don't. They can say something. Police chief, same thing. It's whatever they say it is. The mayor, whatever their agenda is. So you should be concerned with who these people are, because they're the ones that really control what's going on where you live. From a business perspective, in Pennsylvania, the state has an executive order on doing business with minorities, which means it's what the governor prefers and encourages people to do so, but that's not a law. We have a different governor from a different party. That's going to get X'd out. So we're a recipient of that. I want to give a shout out to April Ash. She's from the PA Legislative Black Caucus. There's a few people, local heroes like Dr. Kamika Campbell, people that really work behind the scenes in these things. But I've talked to a lot of local state reps, and a lot of issues that people sit and talk about and complain. You can go to your state rep and ask them, hey, what can we do? There's laws, there's budgets, there's things that are going on. So A is understanding where you're at and who's in charge. B, contact them. It's something. You might not like that. There should be a stop sign on your corner. You might want this to change. You might want that to change. Talk to somebody. That's why they work for you. But if you don't speak up, they don't need to talk to you. And they're going to do what they want to do. And your voice isn't heard. Constituent services is very important. What that is services. Like if you lost your passport, but you're going on vacation, you can call somebody. They can get it for you. If you're having a problem, when I used to work for the federal government, if you're having issues, you can call your congressman. They'll call on behalf of you and say, what's going on with this employee? Why are you treating him like that? What's up with his complaint? You know, things like that. There's a lot of things that these officials can do. So I encourage people to really learn a local government, but learn all facets of it so you can use it to your advantage. In general, just information. You know, seek and obtain as much information as you can on your own. Stop listening to people. A lot of times we have problems within the community with people trusting each other. The trust sometimes isn't there for a lot of reasons. That's okay. But you can get a book. There's a book on everything. There's a website on everything. You check your sources, make sure it's factual, but you need to obtain your own information. Become your own expert. Because a lot of people will steer you in the wrong way or to their advantage. Find out your information on your own.
You said something earlier, and I'll relate to it, is that all politics is local. All politics is local. You're absolutely right. But here's the issue with it. It's local, but you got to get involved. Here's one of the real issues. People reward those who look out for them. We want to talk about millionaires giving a lot of money to politicians. Well, they listen to them because they give them money. Now, our attitude, if you don't vote, why should I do something for you? I understand the good of the country, the good of the neighborhood, but I can't count on you. But if I can count on you, then, and I know you're going to vote, you're my constituent. Believe me when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been involved in politics too long. They always look at their constituents, who they can count on, who they can rely on. And that's what's very important, not only local, but national. You see it all the time. They vote for those who they know they can count on. So sometimes you say, well, that's not fair. They don't care because they got their own little constituents. I would say this here is that we have to vote. I think that we have to get involved. I think you got to go to school board meetings and you got to go to city council meetings. You got to figure out who is going to be your judges. I've always told all of you, district justices is probably one of the most important. They're one of the most important because that one that decides if you're going to go home or you're going to get out on bail. But they need to understand where you're coming from. So I think that, like you said, it's very important that we got to pull ourselves up by the bootstrap.
I wish I had the statistics in front of me. I don't, but I looked it up because I encouraged a friend of mine to run for magisterial district justice. You don't need to be an attorney. It's just a test. Again, it's a political thing, but I think if we're looking at the ward, it's Allison Hill. I think you could win that with 300 votes. So you can take anybody that has a name that's slightly popular, that grew up on Allison Hill, and run them at district justice, and they're going to be in that seat. But no one talks about it. No one cares because nobody votes on that. So you have a lot of people that come from wherever, they run for these things and they get in there. But if people took a more concerted effort, you can appoint whoever. Somebody, it could be anybody. Somebody with a name or someone that people trust. And it's a good job. You only work 25 hours a day or a week. You know, they start at 9, they're out of there by 2. You get off vacations. I mean, it's a good job, but that's an elected position that doesn't take that many votes to get into. And like you said, it's very important. Very important.
Right. But I think school board's important because they determine what is the objective, and you want to make sure that your kids can read and write. We got to prepare now. We got to prepare for next week, the week after. Times have changed. Nobody's going to do anything for you anymore. And those of you who feel that government, subsidies, all that is put you on a system, and now you have to be beholden. So, you know, I'm out sometimes and I see people and they say, oh, I don't have a job. And I say, oh, well, did you apply for a job? Well, you know, I went to one place and they treated me not with respect. And I said, okay, so what did you do after that? I figured since they treated me with disrespect, why should I go somewhere? No, you can't do that. We have a moral obligation to look out for ourselves. Now, I've heard a lot of things about our work ethic, but let me just say this to you. Our work ethic, for the most part, is very good. Remember, we worked up from sun up to sundown. So evidently, we must have had a pretty good work ethic, and we worked 6 days a week. So and we didn't really make a lot of money. So we can go back and look at that. That's why I think it's important you go back. Look at sharecropping. What was sharecropping? Figure out what it is. Find out about minimum wage. Find out about what we can do to change. That's why we want to hire people. There's entrepreneurs that can hire people that can pay a little better, but we got to support them in order for them to hire more people. So if you got to have a whole lot of, you need movers, you hire them. Why? Because guess what? He might hire your nephew. He might hire your son. He might hire your daughter. You don't know. But we have to now, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to this conclusion. We now have to pull ourselves up. Ourselves up. We can't reach back and think somebody else is going to pull us up. And so that's why I say that churches and organizations and all these things, we have to change the narrative. I mean, back in the day we did, and now then we got comfortable and we figured we didn't have to do that anymore. But guess what? Nobody's not looking out for us anymore. And like you said, credit's important. If you want a job, you better figure it out. If you want to get an apartment, you got to figure it out. But you got to start from the very beginning. So do the research ahead of time. So you can't let somebody just use your credit and you don't care. And then all of a sudden, you get ready to go somewhere and they say, oh, your credit's bad, and you go, what are you talking about?
Yeah, from the beginning, there's a lot of things that I've seen. I mean, you want to know how many people that I've had, that I've employed, that can't or won't or not willing to uphold having a driver's license. That's a scary situation. When I was 16 or whatever I was, as fast as I could get it, I got it. I think I failed the test the first time. I was sick. I was upset. I got dropped right back off. I used my mom's car at PennDOT back then. Had a license the whole time because I want to drive around. I might want to go shopping in Hershey. I might want to go on a date over here. I might want to drive to Philly. I might want to just drive down the highway because I can. And then look at people, grown men that have children, don't want to drive a car, not motivated, or hey, I'll give you $5 more an hour if you can get in there and drive the truck. They just want to sit there.
Why do you think that is?
I think some people are just broken. I've summed it up to I think people giving up. I mean, I have dreams. I really do, and I haven't let go. I think some people are just broken.
Wow.
They're working for survival. Can I get money today, Mark? Can I eat? Your customers tip me. That's cool. I'm done. I don't care. I don't want to do nothing else. I got this. That's enough. Today was a good day. This is a better day. I'm used to bad days and better days. But they don't see, like, you know, I worked hard jobs. I did door-to-door sales. I walked every zip code in Philly, here, around here, the Maryland. I did all types of stuff. It's an opportunity. But I was told you just got to keep moving to get there. I didn't know how. I couldn't tell you how I got here. I don't know.
Sure.
There's been many dead ends, dark days, but you got to keep going because no one's going to knock on your door with an opportunity. No one's going to say, Mr. Utley, hey, I got $1 million sitting around. Why don't you come on down here and get it? But if you're out walking around, you might run into somebody that has $1 million. You really might, especially if you're willing to seize that opportunity. If someone said, well, we have a lot of funding available if you have a business plan. Well, you had a plan. You don't just say, I wanted to have a business. You had to plan. You had to plan. Guess what the bank needs to see? A business plan, right? So people giving up on dreams, or people have dreams to be rappers, or they thought they were going to be basketball players, and the probability of that is much harder. But you can sign up for EIN and be a businessman. You can be a sole proprietor tomorrow. You can go cut your neighbor's grass. You can have 10 customers. You're a business person. It's the same thing. It's nothing different, but people's visions and goals are shattered. A lot of that's systemic. A lot of it's not just because they didn't want it. A lot of people are products of their environment. A lot of people started off, like, you know, like you said, maybe they grew up in the projects. Their mom or family members demolished their credit. Some people might have had children too young, where they're behind the 8 ball. They're child support. When I used to work on the base, I had some very good friends. They'd work 8 to 10 hours with us, and they'd go work at Acme to pay child support because their check was just getting completely wiped out. And then you see guys in this situation on the other side that are willing to work 2 hours just to have whatever the custody agreement is, right? Whatever the government decides, because they're at odds with the mother. The mother's getting the check, so whatever, they're fine getting their part. These guys are working 16 hours, 5-6 days a week to have every other weekend. And that's what they're up against. So in the labor force, especially what I'm talking about, like black men, you have a lot of deep issues. You got the drugs and alcohol. That's something else. That's just, you know, and that it's not just in moving. I mean, you can go to contractors, drywall, all this kind of work. It's people get money. It's better than food and some other things, but people turn to different things. But it goes back to the original thing. Are you ready to join the workforce? If you're not, you're just going to waste time. You're just going to get more money to do nothing with. You know, I've seen certain guys, they came to work. It's maybe not on time all the time, but they show up, they put the hours in. And you look after 2, 3 years, 4 years, and it's like, wow, I gave this guy $150,000.
Wow.
This guy still doesn't have a car, a bike, a motorcycle, a place to live, an apartment, an efficiency. Nothing. And then you have to start thinking, where did you spend the money on? What do you do? So it's like you have to have a plan. You have to, and then you have to execute it. I've seen guys collect paychecks, child support, they don't want to pay it. I've seen other guys take care of their kids and other people's kids, and still come to work and still come up. I've seen guys buy houses, get married, buy cars, upgrade their lifestyle. Maybe they were on probation. They finished that. Now they were able to get a house. Or get a stable living place. Now they got a used car. They got a better used car. Now they got a new car. I've seen it on both sides, but it's your mindset, right? Having goals, and then it's also, are you going to execute those goals? So I try to identify people that want the opportunity. If they're ready, then it's going to happen quick. Like I said, two pay stubs, employment verification, you can go. You can get going quickly if you want to. Or it can be years go by and you're just spinning your wheels. So it's important to have the opportunity. Like, I can extend to folks and, you know, market my business and offer jobs, but it's also important to do so. For a lot of people, I can be helpful to try to help people through, but if they come in the door and they're not ready to go, it's scary, especially for our small businesses, because we don't have the resources to sustain a too high of a turnover, right? It can erode the quality of work and confidence and everything else. So that's something else I could say too, that we need to you need to key in on.
Well, I think what you just said is important. But let me just ask you this question: what are some of the things that you think we should do to develop that mindset that you just talked about?
I think it takes a community. Okay, so it starts off with a lot of support from everybody around. Okay, it's Richard's first job. What do we need to do to make sure he gets there on time? First paycheck. First paycheck isn't it's time to party. First paycheck isn't let's go buy some Jordans. First paycheck isn't let's just no. First paycheck, that's pay stub 1. Pay stub 2. Pay stub 3. If you didn't have a car, you're gonna get one. It may not be what you want. It could be you have something that can get you back and forth to work. If work's 5 miles away, well, we're gonna find a way to get there. So I think it just becomes to be supportive of these opportunities, because we've all seen other people from other countries, other nationalities come here and capitalize quickly, very quickly. The jobs and opportunities are here in our neighborhoods. We got to stop playing. You can't show up to a job. You got to get there and get what you're supposed to get and get out of there. These industries come and go, right? We had Tyco, we had AMP, we had Rite Aid. I never thought in my life Rite Aid would shut down. It's over. It's done, right? So these are things that are local that we're seeing. You can't take these things for granted. So while they're there, you take advantage of them. A state job, a government depot job, or Hershey's or Reese, whatever these places are, you get in there and capitalize, because you can. It's just a couple of paychecks, but people aren't ready. I wasn't ready, right? I worked for a couple years until I even started thinking about it. If someone said you buy a house, I'm thinking, I can never. Then you go talk to the bank and they're like, sure you can. Where's your pay stub? that's all they wanted to see. But so it's about letting people know, hey, if you're not ready to work, I don't think it's worth it. Don't waste anyone's time. You're making us look bad. You're eroding companies, small businesses or big business, because that waste accumulates over a while, right? People who go to work and don't put in an honest day, it doesn't show up, but it's on the books. And it's going to ding somebody or everyone at some point. So I think we should teach people, hey, if you're just going to lay around all day, that's cool, that's fine. When you're ready, you got to do it right, and support them in that, because once you go and you get something, you understand this. All I had to do to have this lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I remember being a teenager and working fast food and different jobs, looking at the adults, and I wondered, I'll never work here when I'm an adult. I'd laugh, but I'm looking like, how does he have a brand new car? How's this guy have a house off his paycheck? Never thought about it. All he did was go to the credit union, the bank. It may not be much, whatever it is, but he still he got a new car. He had a place to live. He wasn't sleeping on the street. He wasn't homeless. I mean, they're not living in the mansion, but, so just the simple things, I think that dynamic, when people start to work, is having that support and letting people know that it's not just about, I go to work. It's about, what are you going to do? What are you doing? And getting that stuff done. The earlier you start, the better you are in the long run, and building those assets. But it's important, I guess, and talking to the younger person, maybe that's the second or third question you ask. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Oh, I just got a job over here. You saving money? Do you know how to save the money? You got a good car? And start asking more of these questions, because a lot of people feel like they're alone. So sometimes just asking the question helps too. Sometimes it's some people showing a genuine interest. So I think those are the things, and a lot of people do it. It's not like people don't, but I think it's just reinforcing the importance of what we're here for.
What would be some of your suggestions in terms of how to help motivate or create the mindset so that we can be prepared to go into the work environment? And I say that because people don't understand. There are those who get up every day, go to work hard, and there's those who don't do anything. And like you say, value. So what do you think we need to do to give value to that individual out there, to let them know everybody is somebody, and you can be somebody if you want to be somebody?
It's experiences. I think some people have certain experiences that are life-changing. Once you see something different and you learn it outside of what your norm is, you get a different perspective of the world. And that's one thing I do like about our business. We're in different houses every day. We've had almost 4,000 customers, so we've been, we've been in mansions in Mechanicsburg, townhouses here, Florida there. So just being in certain houses and seeing, I'm like, wow, this is what you can get. But even in the community, like there's so many events and things going on now. You need money to participate in a lot of them, right? So it's like you can either sit on the couch and not have anything, or you can get up and start having things and being able to do things. But like I said, just a little bit of help, lending a helping hand is important. One, two is how to be resourceful. There's a lot of guys I know that sell used cars. There's a lot of people that work in banking, right? We still have to connect people, connect our people. Because if you go to get a used car, maybe this guy won't sell you a lemon. Looks at you, knows you, hey, I'm gonna get you a good deal on this. I can get you a better deal on the financing. I can get you a part-time job. I know somebody. So we still have to be resourceful, because a lot of people still just need an opportunity. They need a shot. And then supporting them in their efforts while that. And also too, I heard this at a seminar a couple years ago, being a reference, but being an accountable reference. So if, let's say I say, hey, I'm looking to hire 3 people. Don't send me whoever. And also, if something goes wrong, I'm going to mention you. Say, hey, somebody really cared about you that referred you to this. This is upsetting. And I'm going to call and let them know that maybe the next time. Because some people think it's all right to burn bridges and go down this path where it's like, no, it's not. Off the strength of you, off the strength of someone else, referrals are made. And that's also important, making sure that as a community we look out for our best interests. It doesn't have to be personal, but a generalization to do right by each other.
Okay, we're getting ready to end this here. Is there something that you want to say to the audience?
We do work with nonprofits. We offer services in kind to nonprofits. Mainly our time and our truck. Like we'll help someone move or pitch in on something. We like to work with community. We like to work with different sports teams, leagues, groups. So if there's anything, you can reach out, 717-500-MOVE. You can reach out for moving services, and we're open for business. If anyone's motivated, wants a part-time opportunity, weekend opportunity, we're always hiring. We're always looking to expand our capabilities.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can check them out. You can Google them. You can go on their website, and you can figure it all out. I hope today that it gave you some information. But my most important thing is I hope that we reach back and pull somebody up by their straps. And let's encourage people. Tell everybody you can be somebody, because everybody is somebody. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.